Rolled up the red carpet today. That's because its intended guests, North Korea delegates, stopped answering the phones. The unpredictable North had called for talks with the South in order to reopen a jointly run industrial park in addition to other agenda items. South Korean activists held rallies in Seoul over the collapsed talks. The proposed talks were due to start today but never materialized due to a disagreement over the seniority of delegates. Seoul's calls to North Korean officials went unanswered. The talks had been billed as a way to open up the Gaesong Industrial Park, which generates $90 million a year in wages for the North. Turkish riot police fought running battles with protesters across the country as the violent demonstration against the government continues. In Istanbul, police cleared the central square that has been the focus to the nearly 2 weeks of unrest. Alan Buknia reports.
Using water cannon and tear gas, police stormed Taksim Square, which was being occupied by the protesters. The thousands of people who gathered in the square included people in office clothes who came after work, and even families. Demonstrators scattered, some of them reportedly to nearby hotels, which raised shutters just enough to allow people to crawl in for shelter. Hundreds of people were reported wounded. Bulldozers were then brought in to take down the makeshift barricades and tents that had been erected. By morning, Taksim Square was strewn with wreckage and largely deserted. The show of force risked ratcheting up the tensions almost 2 weeks after the demonstrations began as a peaceful protest against a redevelopment plan for the square. In the Turkish capital Ankara, Prime Minister Recep Tayyip Erdogan, using the fighting talk that first endeared him to voters 10 years ago, said he would not kneel before the protesters. Speaking in the third person, he said, "If you call this roughness, I'm sorry. This Tayyip Erdogan won't change." Erdogan has agreed to meet with leaders of the protests later today. So far, 3 people have been killed in the violence and about 5,000 wounded. Alan Buknia, TVB News.
There were more protests in Greece after the government closed down all state-run television and radio broadcasts. The move means about 2,500 workers will be laid off as part of the Greek government's cost-cutting drive, demanded by the country's international creditors. Many of the journalists have refused to leave the building. Thousands protested through the night outside the broadcast headquarters in a show of support for the workers. Journalist unions called a 24-hour strike, halting private broadcasting as well. The surprise move marks the first direct public sector layoffs in more than 3 years of austerity. Former South African President Nelson Mandela remains in serious but stable condition in a Pretoria hospital. The 94-year-old anti-apartheid hero is spending his 5th day in hospital, suffering from a recurring lung infection. His ex-wife Winnie and daughter Zanani visited for a second day. He also received a visit from his current wife, Graça Machel. Mandela has been vulnerable to respiratory problems since contracting tuberculosis during his 27 years as a prisoner of the white racist government. There is a growing concern among South Africans the end may be near for the father of the Rainbow Nation, Mandela forged from the ashes of apartheid.
There's still more to come in our newscast, like new regulations to better protect travelers, dragon boat races around town, and super glue used to save the life of an infant in America.
What do our faithful companions think of us? What do they know about us that we don't?
I knew I got breast cancer because Max had told me.
Do dogs really have a sixth sense?
That dog saved my life, and for that he won the Victoria Cross.
Friday, The Secret Life of Dogs at 8:30 on Pearl.
Why this watch? This watch is a witness to words that moved nations. It's dared men faster, further. Worn by luminaries, visionaries, champions. It doesn't just tell time. It tells history.
you can gain more.
Everybody loves beauty. It could easily be you.
Try Kellogg's Special K, only 176 calories per serving. And gain the admiration of others. What will you gain? Special K.
Our full coverage of the Confederations Cup kicks off with 4 group matches. Saturday night at 2:30, Brazil versus Japan. Sunday night at 2:30, Mexico takes on Italy. And on Monday morning at 5:45, Spain versus Uruguay. Followed by Tahiti versus Nigeria, later that night at 2:30. And don't forget to catch our daily highlights at 8, starting Sunday night, right here on Pearl.
Welcome back. New changes to the Trade Descriptions Ordinance come into effect from the middle of next month. For the